you always love to see the Callanan versus Canning battle, the battle of the seas, the battle of the marquee forward men, and that's going to be an intriguing part of it too. Which one of them can deliver most on Saturday?
Well, here's the question. Let's get to it. Who's had the better career? I mean, they both made their debut back in 2008, and they're from that era, which also includes Patrick Horgan, TJ Reid, even Shane Dooley. Because I did a piece last year for the Sindo talking about all of this, and I'm going to bring some stats up on screen, and I'm going to ask you for your opinion as well. This is all the scoring career stats for the two players. So Seamus Callanan, over the course of his career, he scored 35 goals and 217 points, which totals out at 280. Joe Canning has scored 27 goals and 447 points, which is 528. Now there's a huge discrepancy there. That's far more scores for Canning. But if you look at from play only, Callanan has 35 goals and 110 points versus Canning's 17 goals and 131 points. So slightly ahead there, Canning. He's got 8 more points from play in total when goals are converted to points. But it's the percentage from play is something that obviously would stand out as well here. 58% from play for Callanan over the course of his career, with Canning having 31%. So just on the face of it, just looking at those stats there, and you have them beside you as well, what do you reckon from that?
Yeah, Jesus, wouldn't you give your right arm to have scored 1/10 of what either of them have scored in club championship, let alone county championship? They're outstanding figures when you put them down like that. I suppose the thing with Canning, the whole way throughout his Galway career, I would say he's been the main man. Since he announced himself that day against Cork down in Thurles with that 2-12, he's been the main man. He's been the focal point, particularly of a Galway team that were probably going not great for a long time. We asked the question, who led their county better through barren times, Canning or Owen Kelly? And that's a fair question when you're comparing Canning to Owen Kelly and you're not really sure who led their county better during barren times. That says a lot about him. So he's been the main man throughout. Callanan was probably a bit part player. That's not being disingenuous.
Well, he was in and out of the team. He was in and out of it. He started off like a house on fire, and then he was in and out for a couple of years.
Yeah, and then there was Owen Kelly and Lara Corbett there beside him, one of the best forwards of all time, and Lara, another one of the best forwards and a former hurler of the year. Canning didn't have that, we'll say, assistance throughout his Galway career. Realistically, name another marquee forward that he has played alongside, really top end, that will go down as one of the greatest of all time. Possibly Conor Whelan in 6 or 7 years, you might say that, but at the moment, no. So there was more pressure on Canning, and in fairness to him, he's probably delivered throughout his Galway career. Since Callanan really upped his game, probably without being smart, after Declan Ryan left, and when he came back into the team and was given, we'll say, more responsibility by Eamon O'Shea.
The first year he wasn't actually started by Eamon O'Shea, especially in that knockout game in Nolan Park against Kilkenny. He was on the bench, strangely.
Thereafter, so 14 onwards, he's been nominated for Hurler of the Year 4 times, I'll be right in saying, 14, 15, 16, and eventually got it last year. Should at least be a 2-time Hurler of the Year. Canning is obviously Hurler of the Year in 2017. Interestingly, they both played together in LIT as well, in the one forward line for a couple of years, which is it'd be all right, wouldn't it? You imagine you'd gladly do the donkey work for those two guys in the forward line. To be honest, if I was looking at their careers as a whole, Canning has had a longer career, and I would say he's probably had a more consistent career throughout the duration. So I'd probably just be stumping for him. And his role has changed as well. That's not to say that Callanan was a half forward, maybe early stages of his career. Joe was known as a full forward and probably a goal getter. And then he's come out, he's probably reinvented his game. Him being reinvented as a centre forward probably was what tipped Galway over the line. And even in recent years, in 17, when those points needed to be got against Tip, Canning got them. And even in 18, he was probably better again, even in defeat. And he was probably single-handedly the reason why they nearly pulled something out of the 18 All-Ireland. So I'd probably just edge Canning, but I would give anything to have achieved a small percentage of what either of them have achieved throughout their careers.
There's time enough for you, yeah. But Joe Canning, if you look at his career, he's got one goal from play in the last 6 seasons. Whereas if you look at in the same time frame, Callanan has 5, 10, 18 goals. And overall from play, Callanan has 35, which is ridiculous. Every single goal he's got from championship is from play. So it's 35 compared with 17. So that's double the amount of goals. And if you look at the most goals Canning got in one season, that was in 2015. He got 4. The most that Callanan has got is 9, and that was also in 2014. Another couple of stats that I'm going to bring up on the screen here as well is so there it is, the goal scorer. And I was just talking about 35 from play, 27 for Canning, 17 from play. Now I did some stats. I didn't get a chance to update these to include 2020, but just including 2019, the percentage of scores from play: 53% for Callanan. Horgan was next on 33, Canning 32, TJ Reid 29, Dooley 28, and percentage of scores from play when free taker, because I thought this was important. Some years Callanan was free takers, others he wasn't. So 40% for Callanan, 31% for Canning, Horgan 30, Dooley 30, and TJ Reid 19% as well. You're probably going to accuse me of bias, are you, when I say I go with Callanan's, because he's had so many big days, and he's obviously won the 3 All-Irelands as well. Nominated for Hurler of the Year 4 times, should have won it probably twice. I think that one in 2016 very much should have gone to him or Pádraig Maher, and you could make a fair case for both. But I think just on the basis of how much he's scoring from play, given everything that all the ups and downs that Tip have had over the years, and you can say, oh yeah, there was a greater supporting cast for Tipperary with the players around him. But I don't know if that's necessarily true or not. Like, Galway are always towards the latter end of the championship. They've been in loads of semi-finals. They've been in or around finals as well, and they've won them. They've lost finals. 2 brilliant careers, but I'm just about going to go to Callanan. But on the club front, you'd obviously have to give Canning an extra nudge there as well because of all that he's done with Portumna.
The thing about Canning as well is you probably take in an outstanding underage career, an outstanding college career, an outstanding club career. Like, his body of work since he's 15 is absolutely outstanding. Like, he's basically been doing it for 16 years nearly. There's barely been, like, apart from last year when he was injured, there really hasn't been an off season. He's 4 Club All-Irelands. He's got a Fitzgibbon Cup. I think he was full forward on the Fitzgibbon team of the century as well. He'd be full forward on any club team of the last 50 years. But on Callanan as well, like, a couple of like performances that maybe aren't talked about enough. That he got 9 points from playing an All-Ireland final. Like, Jesus Christ, 9 points from playing an All-Ireland final. The 3 goals, against Galway in defeat in 2015 as well. Like, there's between the two of them, some of the greatest individual performances we've ever seen, realistically.
Okay, and I just put this final little point then. In 2019, when Tipperary went the long route in 8 games to win the All-Ireland, Callanan scored a goal in every game, scored 8-17 from play out over the course of the season. So he was crucial for Tip winning it. In Galway's All-Ireland winning season of 2017, Callanan was playing at centre forward and scored a grand total from play of 10 points. So I think something like that, if you're to talk about the 2 most recent All-Irelands, both were crucial to their team, but you can't ignore 8-17.
No, I agree with you, but Callanan was the focal point in the full forward line. Canning was the focal point in a half. They played differently. They weren't trying to bang the onion bag, whereas Tipperary were. Listen, you can the stats can back up whatever. You can twist them to whatever way you want. But both 2 unbelievable careers, and you'd probably say, like, with those 2 lads, and even with Galway and Tip this weekend, is this like, not maybe on the 2 boys? They have a couple of years left yet, probably. But is this like the final punch